What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to patch 44.3, the Legions of Agora. A new army has arrived to usher in a surge of power. Now this is the minion the minions update basically. We got brand new minions. So this is looking really cool. So obviously we've got Dawn and Dusk side minions looking incredibly cool. They look really nice. Now let's scroll down a bit, see what more we have. A new army. Minions are rebuilt from the ground up. A new appearance to match their gameplay changes. Powered by Agora itself. Minions will shed pieces of their armor during the fight, ultimately exposing their weak core for you to take the kill. We got a little video here, so let's watch this. Okay, a little video, nice. I like this. This skin looks amazing. I hate Iggy so much, but I will probably play this skin in a video. Born from the ashes, rise from the flames with Phoenix, Iggy, and Scorch. The dynamic duo love to light fireworks in Omeda City, but there's no way anyone would let them into the city without a good disguise. And that's a pretty good one. I like it. Okay, so now we got lane changes. Now, this is a really big change. You know how we had way back on Legacy, we had a 2v2 lane and a 1v1 lane. So your furthest left lane, depending on where you're looking, but the left side, let's just say, was a 2v2 lane, and your right side was a 1v1 lane, and obviously you had mid lane. But now they're changing this. So we've taken a look at the way our game is played and made changes to encourage a more dynamic and engaging lane experience. Solo lane. The lane nearer to the Prime Guardian is now called the solo lane. Solo heroes will face off in one-on-one combat. The gold camp here has been replaced with the healing orb, which restores health when acquired. Now this is a huge change, but let me talk about the duo lane before we discuss in depth. The duo lane, the lane nearer to Fangtooth, is now called the duo lane, where carries and supports will face off. The gold buff retains its spot as a contestable objective. Now the reason I really liked Legacy was because of the 2v2 and the 1v1 lane. I had a lot of fun in that. The 2v2 lane, it just, like they say here, it feels really good, right? It's you know, your support, and there's your training blows. Every engagement is meaningful. And now with the 1v1 lane, that means that as an offlaner, you have the outplay potential to outplay the enemy offlaner. And I like it. I just really like the 2v2 setup and the 1v1 setup. So this is really something that I've been looking forward to. And I think it's gonna be good for the game, good for from a spectator standpoint. Because what you often find is that the offlaner can is like, okay, well, I have a little power spike at a certain point, but now if they really want to, they can bully me. And it doesn't make for great gameplay, and it doesn't make for, like, and it's not really entertaining at the start of the game when you're just like, okay, well, the offlaner just gets bullied and he's going to lose his towers, there's nothing to do. Now, you can really, you know, there's a lot more engaging, it feels more dynamic, and I think that it's going to be better for the game. It's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I do think it's better for the game. Now, there is a huge balance update. Heroes are receiving significant balance updates, with a strong emphasis on increasing the impactfulness of their abilities. Gold economy is shifting to encourage laning and fighting with your team. Passive drip has been lowered, and in its place, minions now grant a portion of their gold to nearby heroes when they die to other minions or structures. Okay, that's interesting. The draft lobby. To help support the new laning meta, we've made some changes to draft. Players must now highlight a position before picking their hero, increasing awareness to the team. Draft also receives a visual update and prominently shows if you're on the Dawn or Dusk side. Now that's really good because depending on which side you are, you might want to draft accordingly. I'm not sure this makes a huge difference at maybe, you know, for casual players, but maybe at the higher level, it might make a big difference. Wham page. Okay, interesting. The draft screen does look really nice. I like how when you click this, it just shows selected heroes. So this is obviously where we got jungle, okay, jungle, support, mid, off. So off lane, it highlights all the off lane heroes. But you know, it's nice. I like that. I like that it forces people to pick their role, because often in draft you don't really know what people are planning to do. You get a Richter, right? Now, is that Richter jungle? Is that Richter support? Is that Richter offlane? So I like it. So as probably most of you all know, the patch is dropping probably right now. Probably it's already released before this video is out. To celebrate the release of 44.3, the holiday season, the pre-Winterfest Epic Mega Sale will be returning. All skins, emotes, and banners will be 30% off starting November 20th until November 27th. Monolith and gameplay systems. Minions are rebuilt from the ground up. A new appearance has arrived to match the gameplay changes. We talked about this already. So now recommended lane positions by role have been updated to coincide with the balance and UI changes. Fangtooth lane is now recommended to be a 2v2 lane. As mentioned, Prime Guardian is now 1v1, and mid and jungle roles remain unchanged. But, you know, there was probably never any expectations that these would change. Free look camera features been added. Players can activate to rotate the camera around the hero. Thank the Lord. I really wanted this. What this is good for, now, if you've played PUBG or anything, imagine you're running and you can just move the camera around while you're running forward. This is great because they gave you the auto run button. Now you can auto run, and as you're running to the lane, you can look around. This is great for heroes like Murdoch or Muriel, who have global ultimates, or Kalari, right? So as you're running, you can still move forward, but you can look around and say, oh, I need to snipe. Oh, maybe I need to alter an ally and save him. It's really useful, and it's a nice quality of life change that I really wanted, so I'm glad it's been implemented. New health regen buff added. It's called the Aqua buff. Replaces the gold camp in the solo lane. Initial spawn at 3. Respawns at every 2-minute interval in the same manner as rare buffs and gold buffs. Killing the Aqua buff grants an orb which increases health regen by 15 for 15 seconds. That's pretty strong. I think that's pretty good, especially if you're trading blows. Now with Spriken, everyone's getting a lot of health regen, so if you're getting a 15 health regen extra per second for 15 seconds, that might allow you to trade a lot better against the enemy offlane, which is pretty nice. So economy, gold drip, reduce passive gold drip per minute from 360 to 240. Increase the amount of gold shared when a teammate gets a last hit from 40% to 50%. Now this is really good for support, and because of the 2v2 lane setup, now you're going to be spending a lot of time as that duo, so it only makes sense that you get a little bit more gold. Minions will now grant a portion of their gold bounty to nearby heroes if they die to something other than a hero. Heroes will receive the following. 1 hero equals 60% of last hit gold, and you guys can read the rest. Obviously, it falls as falls. Now, this is to stop the death balling, which was quite prominent at the start of Monolith and in Legacy, actually. What the issue was that gold distribution when everyone was nearby was too high. So 5 heroes, it was giving a lot of gold to all 5 heroes. But 24% when there's 5 heroes doesn't seem like a lot. So I know it's something they can tweak if the death balling does come back, but it's pretty nice. So here's an example. Using 100 gold last hit as an example, here's the new full breakdown of the updated gold rewards. So 1 hero in the radius will receive 100 if they last hit it, but if they didn't last hit, they will receive 60. 2 heroes in a radius, so typically your duo lane setup. So last hit, the killer would receive 100, the support ideally would receive 50, and the last hit total is 150 gold for those 2 heroes. No last hits, however, per hero, they would both receive 60, and in total that's 120. So they lose 30 gold if they miss it, and the carry gets significantly less. So while the support would get more gold, 10 more gold, the carry is getting 40 less gold. So it's quite a big blow. And then if you look at 3 heroes, 4 heroes, and 5 heroes, you guys can see the different scenarios. But I won't go through that. Just mainly talking about the duo lane is probably the big one. Okay, so now they've increased the death streak gold bounty reduction from 0, minus 68, minus 85, minus 85, minus 102, blah, blah, blah. They just increased that. You guys can read these ones. Adjusted hero XP bounties, reducing them at early levels but increasing towards mid and late game. Hero XP bounties are based on the level of the hero which died. You guys can, and for those of you that like numbers, you can read this. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm more play the game, but we'll talk about the significant stuff in the patch notes. Don't worry. Now, combat and movement slow penalties. Reduce strafe penalty from 30% to 15%. Reduce the backpedal penalty from 20% to 15%. Reduced range combat penalty from 40 to 25. Reduced melee miss combat slow penalty from 10 to 5, and reduced melee hit combat slow penalty from 30 to 20. Increased duration of ranged combat penalties from 80% of attack cycle to 100% of attack cycle. These penalty durations are clamped at a minimum of 0.7. Increased duration of melee hit combat penalties from 65. Okay, so basically what I'm seeing here is that they've reduced a lot of the penalties to try and make combat more fluid, try and make the game like they said they wanted to focus on hero-to-hero combat, and I feel like this is exactly the step they're trying to make, make combat feel better when it's hero-to-hero combat. With all these penalties, it might not feel as good. People being able to get away or whatever. It doesn't feel good, so maybe this is their kind of step towards that, focusing on combat, and I like it. Now, if you might wanna pause the video and read this slowly so you could fully take it in. But I'm just giving you a brief overview. So Fangtooth, adjusted health from 4,000 to 2,900 plus 400. I think that's. Does this mean that every time he dies, he gets another 400 health? That makes Fangtooth really easy to do early on now, actually. Adjusted basic defense from 65 to 40. That's also another significant change. And actually, these must mean, right, when he levels, right? That's not too bad, 400 per level. Increased initial spawn time from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. I like that. I felt like Fangtooth spawned way too early. Like, what are you going to do with Fangtooth spawning at 2 minutes? It seems kind of pointless. Prime Guardian, adjusted health. Okay, so he also saw a decrease. Same with, he also saw a decrease in basic defense, increased his ability defense, however. So abilities, the reason they probably increased this is because abilities securing or prime sometimes felt a bit ridiculous. Like a Gideon Q could secure or prime when it wasn't even that low. Like it would be low, but it's not that low. Sorry, it's right mouse button, and it kind of sucks. So I'm glad that they've increased the ability defense. They've just increased some of the damage across the board, and the bounty has been increased, and they've reduced the projectile base damage, which I like because that thing always used to fuck me up. Structures. Now, no, 2 towers get a buff here. Let's see. Reduced early game bonus defense duration from 7 minutes to 5. That's fine because the kind of defense duration was there for the offlaner. Now you don't really have that, so it's okay. Reduced early game bonus defense from 150 to 120. That's fine. Increased tower defense penetration from 50 to 75. Increased tier 1 tower damage. Okay, we got a damage increase. Nice. And increased tier 2 tower health from 2,500 to 2,800. I like it. Increased inhibitor basic defense from 65 to 80. So they have buffed towers, actually. Towers have gotten a buff in this patch. Yes, the protections go down a bit earlier, but the protections were only there because of the offlaner, because of the 2v1 scenario, and they didn't want the offlaner to lose their tower so soon. But now that that won't be a problem, this is a nice buff to towers. Updated economy reward for structures. Increased structure kill gold bounty for nearby heroes from 204 to 300. Reduced tier 1 global payout and tier 2 global. Okay, so all the towers got a reduction in their global payout. And it's now all 200, so that's fine. Jungle. Increased large jungle minion health from 980 to 1100. Increased green buff minion health by 50. Increased black minion by 50 as well. Reduced initial spawn time of green and black buff counts from 130 to 120. So that's nice because often you'd always have to start white camps and then go to your green. But they've reduced the time. I like that. Updated economy reward for jungle camp. So they've increased. So basically, what they've done is they've increased the health of the camps, but they've also increased the payout you get from XP and gold. So that's pretty nice. So you might have think, as a jungler now, it's gonna take me longer to clear, but you're also being rewarded a little bit more, which is quite nice. They've increased the effectiveness of the hunter sight buff, which is the black buff on the offlane side. But you know. It's I say the offlane buff, but it's also for the jungler as well, right? Increased melee slow magnitude from 15 to 20. Increased range slow magnitude from 5 to 15. That's pretty nice. I really like the slow, and this buff is perfect for ganking. So the slow just only helps the ganks, right? Lane minions. Increase the amount of time before minions are added to the waves. Minions will now be added on the 30th, 44th, and 60th waves. Previously was on the 22nd, 38th, and 58th. That's kind of good. I feel like that's because the games ended really fast with huge minion waves. This should mean that they can't take towers by themselves so early on, but they still will be able to eventually. Reduce minion movement speed from 700 to 660. That's pretty nice. Maybe that allows you to body block the minions. Reduce super minion health. As a minion spawn, you can kind of like block them to freeze the lane. But what happens is if you mess it up once, the minions were too fast, you couldn't catch up. So they reduce super minion health. They reduce siege minion damage versus heroes. They've adjusted melee minion ability defense. Adjusted range minion ability defense, and you now get more gold from all these minions. And actually, super minions didn't give you gold before, but they do now, and they give you a bounty. It's not a lot of gold, but it's like still a worthwhile amount, right? Like 20. Okay, it's not even worthwhile, let's be honest, but it's nice. It's nice, okay? Knockups. All knockups have had their height reduced and made it consistent across the board. Now this is what I like. You know what's wrong with knockups? The fact that you could knock someone up and they'd land on your head, and then they'd slide forward, and you'd miss your next ability. I hope they've reduced the height so that they can't land on your head, because it's kind of stupid. Knockups are now always accompanied by a stun that persists beyond the knockup duration. Okay, interesting. Respawn times have also been reduced, which is pretty nice. I like that. And bots. Oh, fuck bots, I don't really care about them. Hero unlocks, blah, blah, blah. And here's a bunch of polish and bug fixing. Now let's get to the heroes. Feels like there's going to be a lot of changes, so let's see. Let's start with Aurora. Hoarfrost cooldown increased from 8 to 10. Thank you, fuck that bitch. Cryosesm, base damage reduced. Looks like a significant nerf to her ultimate. And she also received a decrease in her defense. Increased basic defense per level. Increased basic attack damage. And increased... Wait, basic that decreased. Okay, so her ultimate has been nerfed significantly, and I like that. I hate her ultimate a lot, and I felt like sometimes there would be a support Aurora, and her ult would just do stupid damage. So thank you. Now I'm looking here, and I kind of got one eye on Aurora, but my other eye is glancing at Countess, and I know that a lot of you already complain about how broken Countess is, and I'm seeing this, and I'm seeing increased, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So Blade Siphon damage increased across the board from all levels. Her shadow slip magnitude is increased from 20% to all levels to 42%, 45, 48, and 51%. That's a 51% slow. And the slow duration has been increased from 1 at all levels to 1.5. Now let me tell you guys something about Countess. A lot of people would say, Ace, Countess is broken. She's overpowered. But honestly, she's not. At high MMR games, and I don't really like to bring up Elo and that shit often because it's kind of, it's an unranked game. But just to get my point across, I feel like I have to in this scenario. Countess is barely ever picked at high MMR. And the reason is because she's not that good. Because there's so many ways to counter her. A good support, when a Countess goes for a carry, a good support is almost always going to stun the ultimate, so she's not going to get it off. Countess with Shadow Dancer, okay, but our support's going to be grabbing wards and we're going to be getting cards to counter her. It's not a problem. So I feel like this buff might have been necessary, and if you hate me for it, I'm sorry, but I think this buff was needed. Now let's talk about Crunch. Holy shit, he got a lot of changes. And they keep telling me, Crunch is overpowered. Crunch is broken. Are we buffing? Are we nerfing? Let's see. Forward Crunch now applies a 30% slow for 1.5 seconds at all levels. Okay, can live with that. Unempowered dash range decreased. Okay, empowered dash range decreased as well. So his dash has now been decreased. That's okay. I felt like it was a bit too far. He could escape it was a bit too easy for Crunch to escape. And I don't like a fighter like Crunch having an escape that's that good. Cooldown increased. I like that. Cost decreased. Okay, whatever. Basic damage decreased. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of decrease here. It looks like a lot of nerfs across the board for Crunch. And the things I'm seeing increased are cost and cooldown. Okay, no, the cost was decreased here, but the cooldown was increased. Unempowered no longer applies a slow, but now it applies a stun. Okay, so Crunch got a stun instead of a slow. That's nice. I like that. Okay, so I'm not gonna really talk about all the changes here, but you guys can go through them yourself. Looks like Crunch got a nice stun. It looks like a little bit of balance changes. I won't say it's necessarily a buff or a nerf until I play it, but the stun could be pretty good. So Deca. Now they did rework Deca her bomb. I was about to say bomb, but bomb. It's not that kind of video, guys. And I think they tweaked some of the balance changes there. They try to increase. I think they increase the slow bubble damage, but they're increasing it again. But that's not okay. So they're increasing slow bubble damage again. Stasis bomb has seen a slight increase. That's a 1.2 second stun at level 1. It's pretty significant actually, compared to what it was 0.5 seconds. That's pretty interesting. Drongo, old rusty mana cost increase, blah blah blah. Now displays bullet counts in reticle for increased clarity. I like this. The damage has been decreased though. I feel like not a lot of people play Drongo, so damage decreased, but they did increase the power scaling, which is pretty nice. Feng Mao will now collide with heroes and minions while targeting it. Improve consistency, blah blah blah. Range increases, so that's a nice increase. Any buff to Feng Mao, I'll take it. Bonus damage percent increased. Holy shit, from 120 to 150 at max level. That's pretty insane. They've also buffed his shield. But actually, they're probably buffing some of the typical quote unquote off lane heroes because they're gonna be in combat with each other in a 1v1 lane, not so much as a 2v1. So I feel like the buff is okay because they won't be wrecking the 2v1 lane. Slow magnitude increased. Slow duration has been reduced. Okay, so a buff to survivability, a nice increase of slow magnitude. I really do dislike rippling strikes. It's kind of stupid, but I just wish they would give me the hamstring back. That'd be pretty nice. They've also reduced the cooldown on his ultimate, but I take the onslaught gem anyway, so this is just a really good buff for me and for people that use the onslaught gem on Feng Mao. Basic defense decreased, basic defense per level increased, basic attack damage increased as well, like that. Basic attack damage per level decreased, and movement speed decreased from 700 to 660. So he now moves at the same pace as minions. Gadget slow magnitude increase on a seek and destroy. Speed gate boost magnitude increased. Slow magnitude increased on our ultimate. 75% is a significant slow on the ultimate actually. I think they're trying to get more value out of that Gadget ultimate, and I believe Gadget ultimate does the most damage in the game on an on an ability actually if you sit inside the entire thing. Gideon Void Breach, basic damage decreased, power scaling decreased, now applies a 25%, 28%, 31%, 34% slow for 2 seconds. That's a significant slow actually. Cooldown increased, cosmic rift damage increased, power scaling increased, wow, from 1.8 to 3.13. That's pretty significant, and no longer slows. Okay, so he loses the slow on that ability. Taunt space cooldown increased. Black hole stun now reapplies on every damage instant. What the fuck? So does it mean that the 3.5 second stun just constantly keeps reapplying every time it does the damage? Not sure how I feel about that. It sounds kind of broken, but I could be completely misunderstanding what that means. I guess we'll find out soon. Basic defense decreased. Basic defense per level increased, and movement speed decreased from 690 to 650. Okay, Greystone. Assault the gates cost a mana cost decreased from 60 to 50. Damage increased, blah blah blah. Okay, I could be going over all these, but it's kind of a lot, and I do want to play the patch as well. So let's look at the significant ones. Suppression mode. Okay, so the Grux double pain one was one that fucking was bullshit with Deathcrawler, and it was overpowered. It might not be quote unquote overpowered because I don't think it was incredibly overpowered. I just feel like it made for unfair gameplay, which no one really wants. So it can no longer critically hit, which means Deathcrawler no longer works with it. Blah blah blah, some buffs. I would have liked to have them seen where this is actually what I wanted. Corrected an issue which could cause Howitzer to remove his own spell shield or damage himself with Spellbind. Thank you very much. It's a nice buff to Howie. Okay, so a nerf to Iggy, Kalari, blah blah blah. You guys can look at the heroes you want. I don't really want to go over. It's gonna take me ages to go over all of these. Looks like some buffs to Kwang. Increase to Lieutenant Bellica's early game stun. Actually, they last patch they lost significant balance change. Actually, they reduced her stun and now they've increased again. So I guess they saw she's a bit weaker. Big changes. I might be missing some big changes, but wait. The way this ability function has been adjusted now requires confirmation to create a link with an allied hero rather than auto-confirming. To pull a linked teammate, press the ability button once again to begin the ability, then repress the ability button. Is now able to pull stunned and rooted allied heroes. Okay, that's interesting. Whoa. No longer shares health regen with Phase's linked teammate. Healing granted on ability cost is now a heal over time. Oh, what? So she no longer gives health regen to linked teammates and is now able to pull stunned or rooted allied heroes and now has to confirm the ability when she pulls. That's actually significant. Overall healing is unchanged. So I guess now she just heals people with their abilities. That means Possessed Spriten is not so great on Phase anymore. Although it might still be good on a support, but just for the link, it might not be that great. It's interesting. Rampage boulder will now explode if it hits ground instead of a hero, affecting the nearest enemy hero with a radius of 200. Now it's a camera mode when holding the boulder that zooms in and off to the side to improve visibility of where the player is aiming. Okay, interesting. And Rage now pushes through minions more. I like that change. Scar now applies a stacking slow for 10%. A stacking 10% slow for 1 second. Interesting. Reckoning now applies a 0.5 seconds root to target. Can now be cast while moving. Thank you. I hate that when you casted Reckoning, you had to stand still. You'd ult someone. They'd fucking run 2 miles before you could move again. Thank you. Severog. Cypher now grants stacks from any kill Severog gets, rather than just kills from his abilities. Okay. Bonus threshold for stacks increased from 10, 30, 60, 100 to 20, 60, 120, 200. So basically doubled, but now he grants stacks from any kill he gets, okay? Targeting shape is now a wider wedge instead of a narrow rectangle and has been changed to auto-confirm. This allows you to continue to hold down a basic attack. Okay, interesting. It's also seen its mana cost decrease, damage increase, and power scaling increased. Subjugate's just seen some changes. Colossal Blow has been updated to auto-confirm and speed up slightly for ease of use. Okay, same with the Siphon. You can now Colossal Blow while continuing to hold down basic attack. Damage increased and power scaling increased, blah, blah, blah. Shimbi got a buff but her on her line tempo, but basic damage decreased and base defense per level increased. Actually, I feel like Shimbi's one of the most OP heroes in the game. Sparrow, just mana cost decreased, blah, blah, blah. Steel, whatever. The Fae. I'm not seeing anything crazy. Nerf to Twin Blast Ultimate, but the damage per shot has been increased, but the number of shots you fire is less. Wraith can now jump while performing this ability. Okay, I guess. Wukong seems like it's a lot of changes. Now knocks enemies aside if they're receiving a glancing blow. Now stuns if an enemy is hit by that. Okay, so he's got a stun. That's actually pretty good. Wukong definitely struggles with sticking to people, so cards like Trapper are godsend, but having a stun, that's pretty good. What I would have liked to have seen is that when you change stance on Wukong, is that the abilities don't share cooldowns. Like, I would think that's a nice change to Wukong. Nothing crazy here. Now, Zinx was someone that sucked. So, Initial Wave now applies a 25, 30, 35, 40% slow for 2 seconds. Bad Medicine. Okay. That's her AoE ability if you're not sure, and it kind of sucks in general. So maybe it's better now that it has a slow. Kitty Claws. Base damage increased. Power rating increased. Okay. Now has base damage. Now has a power scaling. Stun duration from 1 second base with initial to a 1.2 seconds with an additional 0.2 seconds per bounce. Updated ricochet, audio, whatever. Dirty healing. Healing from damage taken decreased from 50 to 30. Mana healing decreased. So now she could heal for a lot longer. whatever. Okay. Now let's look at the cards. So starter decks have been updated and increased from 8 to 12 cards. As a result, one of each of the following cards has been granted to all accounts. Whatever. Okay, now this, let's get into the meat of the cards here. Before we go any further, actually, I just want to say I missed this thing with Muriel. And I was just checking a message and I saw this. Reversal of Fortune now cleanses the shielded ally. It's pretty big, pretty big. So, yeah, I missed that one, but it's a pretty big change. A cleanse is nice. We don't have a lot of cleanses on abilities in this game, actually. So let's go back to the cards. We're looking at Death. Finder Playthings has seen its slow magnitude increase and the cooldown reduced. Projectile speed on Grinning Spectre. Thank you. That card kind of sucked because you could run away from it very easily. An increased execution threshold for 15 to 20%. That's nice. Nameless Cuts increased ability damage dealt from 65 damage per second to 18 seconds to 80 damage per second for 14 seconds. So that's an increase of. Nameless Cursed increased ability damage dealt from 65 damage per second for 18 seconds to 80 damage per second for 14 seconds. So that's a nice damage increase. Plague Lord Malek reduced slow magnitude from 15 to 10. Possessed Spriken has also seen a nerf, thank the Lord. No longer grants gold when executing your own minion, that's fine. And they've also reduced the damage per second on Withering from 55 to 45. So what they want to do is just kind of increase diversity in decks. Right, everyone picking up Withering, kind of bad for the game. Reduce cost from 1,500 gold to 1,200 gold. Increase slow magnitude, increase power. I actually really like Cryo Agent, so it's nice that this has seen a buff. Reduce cost, mana flow. Now display stat count on the status bar. Increase that. Wait, OPD Militia is getting a buff? Okay. That's nice. I'm kind of confused about the OPD Militia one, since that's a really good card at the moment. But buffing that, interesting. Rejuvenator scenes. I'm only going to talk about the cards that we see a lot of use in. I'm sure there might be some hidden gems in here, but I can't go over everything, or this video is going to be over an hour. Brilliant Fortification, reduced cost from 1,000 gold. Okay, that's a slight reduction. I actually really like that card. Crippling Glare, blah, blah, blah. Domain of Stillness. New card. Okay, we'll talk about the new card. Form of Grubbish. Granted 1 copy to all players. Nice. I like that. Thank you, Epic. Costs 13 intellect. Stats. 15 power. 180 max health. 210 max mana. Metamorphosis. Active. Morph target enemy hero into a bug for 3 seconds. Players cannot use abilities or attack while morphed. 100 mana cost, 50 second cooldown. And this is an order card. Okay, nice. I'm really looking forward to more cards in this game, and one new card. Okay, I'll take it. I want to see what the bug looks like. I really want to know what the bug looks like. I'm pretty sure it's something cool. Gate Salvation, Stagnant Dominion, increased slow magnitude, increased duration. Lieutenant's Bellica, Void Drone mana no longer applies Stagnant Dominion. Iggy's Scorch, Burning Sensation passive no longer applies Stagnant Dominion. That's nice. I like that change. Apex Predator, a cost adjusted. Okay, so it's 7 intellect now. Increased power, now grants 18 ability fent. No longer grants attack speed. Reduce max count. So I feel like they've kind of buffed this, trying to make the stacks easier to get, but they've also removed the attack speed from it. Reworked Exoskeleton no longer reduces damage taken from enemy heroes by 6. New passive, Living Armor. Regenerate 30 health over 3 seconds after taking damage. 6 second cooldown. Okay, that might be a really good card for offlaners to pick up. Malik Nasha, increased damage per stack from 4% to 5%. Wow, this card is insane on Fae. And this is a direct buff to Fae. Spriken, adjusted cost from 2 to 4. Okay, whatever. Thundercleave. That's not Possessed Spriken. That's just the normal Spriken, by the way, if anyone's confused. Increase slow magnitude from 2% per stack to 5% per stack. Maybe this because not many people pick this card up, but I think it's a great card on Chimera, great on Wukong as well. This card is actually quite underrated. So the fact that they're trying to increase it is it's pretty good actually. I feel like this is one of the most underrated cards in the game actually. Deathcrawler abilities, which are considered a basic attack that cannot crit, no longer place Deathcrawler's passive on cooldown. Okay, Living Guardian, right side, blah blah blah. Polish and bug fixing, can't see anything great there. Okay, now gems. Mana reactor, increased damage taken per 1 mana restored from 6 to 7. What? They're buffing mana reactor? Oh no, okay, wait. So increased damage taken per 1 mana restored from 6 to 7. Okay, that makes sense. Reflexive Purify, increased damage taken threshold before cleanse. So that's a nerf to this, to Reflexive Purify. Okay, let's have a look at UI, blah blah blah, cards. Okay, there's a new, I think we've seen some people leak the status frames, but you guys should see this in game, where in the bottom left you can now see your attributes. Let's see, nothing. UI scale, store content. We've got a Glacier-born Rampage, Copper-born Beast Rampage, obviously the Iggy skin, and that's pretty much all the patch notes. Okay, that was pretty long, but I hope you guys enjoyed the patch notes. I am really excited to try out the game. Since the patch is already live, I'm going to jump right into a game, probably record some Iggy gameplay for you guys, and let you know my thoughts on the patch. But it is looking promising. Another step to a more completed game with the minions. I like the 2v2 lane. I'm so eager to try this out, especially as an off-lane main. I don't really off-lane main anymore, I would say, actually, but I'm really excited to give this patch a go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I will talk a lot about the patch in my upcoming gameplay videos. So smash that thumbs up button, subscribe for all the latest Paragon content, and until next time, guys, peace.